Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Michael, your host here at MTT Finance. And in today's video, I'm going to be going over my top 5 book picks for the year of 2021 that I'm going to be reading to further improve my knowledge on personal finance, growing wealth, staying out of debt, and keeping a budget. I should also point out that each book I mention in this video, I'm going to be reading and then posting a detailed review for on this channel. So you're not going to want to miss out on that. So be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. That way you do not miss any of my new content. And when I post those videos, you can go down and type in the comment section that you were the first one to watch the video. I should point out that in this financial book list of books that I'm going to be reading in 2021, each of these books had to pass through a certain, let's say, criteria for me to include them on the list. I wanted to make sure that the authors who were writing these books were legit, that they weren't just taking information that they read in someone else's book and regurgitating it and plagiarizing it and passing it off as their own, and also that they were considered by others to be experts in their field and that they were successful at what they were writing to us about. I also did some research and looked at the reviews for each of these books and wanted to make sure that the people who have actually read the book and then reviewed it said that the author was actually doing in the book what they set out and were trying to accomplish to do. So for example, if I were to pick a book on making a sandwich and then I saw in the reviews that everyone was just saying that, yeah, it's full of motivational content and inspiring things, well, sure, I might want to be motivated to go make a sandwich, but I would want actually, more importantly, a step-by-step process on how to make the best sandwich possible. I don't want to just be motivated and inspired to go create a sandwich. I want the best information possible. And so I did some research and looked through the reviews to make sure that people were saying that the book was good, that the author was doing what they had set out and accomplished to do, that the information was reliable and useful and helpful to them. The other thing that I wanted to be sure of when I picked out these books is that each relates to a different area of personal finance or growing wealth or budgeting or investing that one, I'm interested in. I didn't want to just read about something that I find boring or I'm not interested in reading. And two, it had to be something that I have identified in myself as being a lack of knowledge or having a knowledge deficit in that area. I didn't want to just waste my time on content that I already know about, but I wanted to look for things that are new and challenging for me. That way I can bolster my expertise and my knowledge base when it comes to personal finance. Also, just a heads up, I'm going to be leaving links to all the books I talk about in this video down in the description. So if you want to check them out afterwards, you can go right ahead. They'll be all Amazon links. And just a heads up, they're all affiliate links. So if you were to click on it and then buy any of these books, you would be helping somewhat out with this channel, as I get a teensy tiny kickback from whatever you purchase. But don't worry, it will be of no expense to you. You still pay the regular price of whatever Amazon offers you, but I do get a tiny little kickback of profit from your purchase. So now let's take a look at the 5 different books that I have chosen that each correspond to those different areas of personal finance. So in the area of real estate investing and buying, I chose to pick the book, What Every Real Estate Investor Needs to Know About Cash Flow by Frank Gallinelli. Now, whether or not this is the best book to read in regards to investing and buying real estate, I don't really know yet, but I'm excited to give this book a read, as owning property is something that I'm interested in. However, I would say that it is something that I know very little about how to do and how it all plays out and how it works. However, I do know from listening to a lot of people on YouTube who do real estate investing and owning rental property that it can be a great asset to have and to hold, especially when it comes to, generating passive income sources. Along with, there's also a lot of tax write-off and tax deductions that come with owning and renting out real estate and rental properties. And so for that reason, this book is something that I'm excited to read and then take notes on and then upload a video of a review so that you guys can watch that and get your own and formulate your own opinions on real estate investing from this book. The second area of personal finance that I know very little about is opening and having an online business and then selling and marketing a product. And so the book that I've chosen to help me better understand this whole world of online business owning and selling a product is the book, The Nuclear Effect, The 6 Pillars of Building a 7+ Figure Online Business by Scott Oldford. One thing to point out is that in this field of online business owning, I had to be very selective in which book I was going to read and choose and add to this list. As many of you already know, especially on YouTube with YouTube ads, all the ads are basically littered with people trying to sell you a course on how to start up your own online business. They've made their money by teaching other people how to make money. And so I wanted to make sure that the book I chose for this list wasn't that they're not just simply trying to tell me, make money by telling other people to make money. That's not really what I wanted to do, and so I wanted to make sure that the book I added to this list wasn't about that. Whether or not this book actually sticks to that criteria and doesn't just spiral down into a sell online courses on how you make money type of book, well, I guess that will be something I'll have to find out when I actually read it. The third book that I chose to add to my 2021 reading list in regards to online marketing and marketing yourself in a digital age is the book, The One-Page Marketing Plan, Get New Customers, Make More Money, and Stand Out from the Crowd. This choice actually does go along with my last selection in regards to opening up an online store, and that is if you're going to have some type of online business, you're gonna need to know how to market yourself and demonstrate that you are your own individual brand and be able to stand out amongst your competition. And so I'm excited to give this book a try and see if I can use it in my own personal endeavors with online business. Another reason why I'm getting into marketing is that I'm trying to do it actually to help out my wife, as she is a cosmetologist and she's just starting to get in that stage where she now needs to market herself and show that she's available to do people's hair. And there's a whole strategy and a science when it comes to marketing. And I know a teensy tiny little bit about it, but I think it's good to read a book that's all about and straightforward on that topic. And that's gonna help me not only for my own business endeavors, but also help me help my wife when it comes to marketing herself and her business and her brand. Moving on to my fourth book that I've added to this list for my 2021 reading plan, and this criteria has to do with investing in the stock market. And these next two books, especially this one, really don't need any introduction. They don't need any qualifications for the authors, as these are very popular books. And the book I chose was The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. This book has been around for quite some time now, has thousands of reviews on Amazon, and really doesn't need any introduction to it. I believe Warren Buffett actually calls this his investing Bible, as Benjamin Graham, I believe, was one of his mentors in how he became successful in the stock market. If you're not familiar with who Warren Buffett is, he's basically the world's most successful stock trader and stock investor. And when someone as successful as Warren Buffett says that they like this book and that it's helped them make his millions, you pay attention. And when it comes to the stock market, you're using your hard-earned cash to pay for these stocks. And so you want to make sure that your stock picks are intelligent and that they are thought out and that they are researched, and you're not just throwing your money away into a company that is going to go belly up and in a few months or even a few years. The fifth and final book that I'm adding to my 2021 reading list, and this one's in regard to personal finance and budgeting for your home. And once again, this book and this author absolutely need no introduction, and that is The Total Money Makeover by, of course, Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey's basically become a household name when it comes to personal finance and budgeting, as he's written many books across these subjects and has very strong opinions on what he believes about personal finance, especially when it comes to credit cards. However, an important thing to point out when it comes to Dave Ramsey and his books and his material is that he has countless numbers of testimonies and stories of people who have used his content, used his books, used his methods and strategies, and have gotten themselves out of debt. And so he's no joke. His material is no joke. It definitely does help people. And so I'm excited to read this book. I've never read it. I have heard little bits and pieces from this book, particularly from other YouTubers when I watch videos on what books they recommend to read. Usually they always talk about his views on credit cards, as he absolutely hates them, but I'm definitely excited to give this book a read, as I'm sure it will help me gain a more robust knowledge of personal finance and budgeting. And I think this one's actually one that I'm going to be reading with my wife, as I remember towards the end of last year, she was like, hey, we should read a Dave Ramsey financial book together. And so here we go. We're going to probably read this one together. But anyway, just wrapping up here, these are my 5 book picks that I'm going to be reading this year in 2021. These aren't probably the only books that I'm going to be reading this year. In fact, they're definitely not the only books I'm going to be reading this year. But these books, I'm sure, will help me gain a better knowledge on a lot of things that I don't know about when it comes to the personal finance world, as I consider myself still a relative newbie, and there's a lot I need to learn if I'm going to bolster my knowledge and become more competent. I also want to encourage you all to go out there and make your own 2021 reading list. It doesn't really have to be anything to do with personal finance, but definitely reading does help sharpen our minds. And I found, at least in my own personal life, that the stuff I read is actually the information that I retain to the longest. And so book reading does help me to focus more on the information and retain it longer. And so I encourage you all, make a reading list this year. Put some books down below in the description of what you're going to be reading this year. Once again, as before, check out the books that I listed in this video. I'm putting them in the description. Take care, stay safe, and I will see you in the next video.